So I have a new obsession that I want to share with you guys, because if you're someone who's into human design or into astrology, I think you're going to really like this because it seems very similar to me, but also much more focused on the spiritual journey, which I love. So in this video, I want to talk more about what this is, and that thing is the gene keys, and explaining what it is. I want to share really quick my little tripod that I use in my sister's truck because he's adorable. This is Squirt. I crocheted him for my sister, and he sits on the dash of my sister's car along with her shark, which we call Sharky. So I have a new obsession that I want to share with you guys because it's been really fun to look into this, and it's helped me a lot with focusing on my mindset, especially as I'm trying to up level, which maybe you guys know about. I've been trying to manifest 10K in my bank account and 5,000 coming into my bank account every month, and manifesting 1 million subscribers, as well as a forerunner. I'm going for a lot of different things right now in my career and my finances, and looking at this thing has really helped me with that. And if you're someone who's into human design or into astrology, I think you're gonna really like this because I'm into astrology. I love this. It seems very similar to me, but also much more focused on the spiritual journey, which I love. So in this video, I want to talk more about what this is, and that thing is the gene keys, and explaining what it is. Who I also crocheted for my sister's car. But anyway, Squirt does a really good job of holding up my phone. Squirt has been my homie for keeping my phone perfectly propped, and let's hope that it continues to stay that way. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Isabelle. I'm your spiritual rebel friend, and I just share all things personality types, psychology, personology, manifestation, because I'm obsessed with these things and I use them for my self-growth. So I'm here to share them with you and how I use them. So before I dive into this video, make sure you hit the link in the description below to book your 1-hour coaching call / reading, where I talk about your astrological birth chart, Enneagram, numerology, and including gene keys now, which I'm super psyched about. If you want to learn about that, book below. Check out my astrology course as well if you're wanting to become your own astrologer, and that's all in the link in the description below. But today I wanted to talk about the gene keys, which are super cool. And I'm not going to say I'm an expert on yet. I'm going to just share my knowledge so far on what the gene keys are, because the gene keys are super cool. I love them. They're very similar, as I said in the intro, to astrology, a birth chart in my view. But what I love even more about the gene keys is that it focuses an emphasis so much more on the spiritual journey and elevating our consciousness. And maybe you guys know about, I've been trying to manifest 10K in my bank account and 5,000 coming into my bank account every month, and manifesting 1 million subscribers, as well as a forerunner. I'm going for a lot of different things right now in my career and my finances, and looking at this thing has really helped me with that. And while I see that our astrological birth chart can do that, it in a way shows more of our material 3-dimensional stamp. Basically how the stars encoded us based off of, and how we interact with the world in the reality. Whereas the gene keys focus more on, in a way, elevating reality, transcending the human experience, which I'll get to that more in a minute. But first, let's just cover what the gene keys are. And take a sip of my cold coffee. The gene keys are a system developed by Richard Rudd, which you can get his book covering all of the gene keys, and you can go to his website. If you search for gene keys, Richard Rudd, you can pull your free chart interpretation, and it'll give you the basics of what your genius path is and tell you the basics of your 4 main gene keys, so to say. It's like you can get basically the equivalent of your big 3 interpretation in astrology terms. But Richard Rudd developed the system of the gene keys, which is basically the idea that there are 64 different genes, so to say, which each gene has a shadow, a gift, and a city level. Basically a low expression, low vibration, the shadow side, our dark side of expression, our gift level, which is our gift to bring to the world, and the city is our godlike level. When we elevate our consciousness, transcend the human experience, basically this is the equivalent to what Buddha and Jesus were elevating at, or perhaps they were even further, but in my head that's how I see it. And so each of these 64 gene keys has these 3 different levels, and basically we have these genes within us. I think very much that the gene keys also go in they go in relevance. They go side by side the concept of that Zach Bush or Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about, where our genes have different expressions. We say it's in our genes, certain health issues or good. Whenever people see my eyebrows, they always say like, wow, you have good genes for that. But the idea is that actually each gene has 200 different expressions that it could potentially be, is what these people believe. And I think the gene keys go with that idea as well. And so the gene keys, basically, it's almost like as if they're set up in a circle and the dial is spun, and at your moment of birth, you have a different imprint. The gene keys also look something like this. I do need to probably mention, so I'm going to do an exaggerative gesture so I remember to actually put a picture of the gene keys right here. This is kind of what your gene key chart, so to say, looks like. And so basically you have each of those different dots is a different gene key that it landed in. And so each gene is something you can tap into within you, like a different planetary placement in astrology, and they have a low and a high expression. So not only does each gene key have a different expression, but you also, each different point where it sits basically in your chart or your hologenic profile indicates a different area of your life. So for example, the top one, I'll talk about the main genius sequence, because you can notice there's a lot of different placements here, but there's so while there's a lot of different placements, there's 3 different sequences as well. And so the first sequence, which is the genius sequence, which is the one you get when you pull basically your chart. If you go online, that's what the website will tell you about. I honestly can't even remember the website name, but it's probably genekeys.com, honestly. And the genius sequence, which consists of 4 different that kind of go in like a Z or a lightning bolt. This is your main sequence. And so the first one is what you're here, your life's work. And this is basically whatever gene is there, whichever number, whatever that shadow gift in city is what you're here to work through in this lifetime. You also have what you're here to learn. You have what you're here to keep you healthy, which is, I think, like the one that'll be like right here, or I don't know if it'll be mirrored, one of these 2 sides. And then you have your life's purpose. So that's your genius sequence. Basically, it indicates more so where you're ongoingly, it's almost like your base, in my head, it's like your basic of who you are, your gifts, talents, your strengths and weaknesses. So to say, kind of like your north and south node combined with your sun and Mars and moon, maybe. Let's just call it that, if that helps you frame it. But you have your genius sequence, which consists of 4 gene keys. Then you have your Venus sequence, which tells you all about your love life and your love for life, what helps you develop your love for life. I love that it's called the Venus sequence, because it doesn't just emphasize relationships, but also your love for life. And you have in that sequence your attractor number, what you tend to attract and what helps you be a magnetic attractor. You have your IQ, your EQ. You go through the stages of your development to realign with your love life. And then you have your Pearl sequence, which is all about how you manifest wealth. And I'm pretty sure, I wouldn't be surprised, this is not just talking about dollars in the bank, but what helps you live a wealthy life, feel wealthy, so to say. It's all about abundance. And each sequence leads into another. So you work through your genius sequence, so to say, first, and that leads into your Venus sequence, and then that leads into your Pearl sequence, and the Pearl sequence finishes at the genius sequence. So it's like a spiral effect that you're always going up. So if you just learn about your genius sequence, the first 4 that you'll get when you pull your hologenic profile for free on his website, it's really, really in depth. And his book really is, it just goes so in depth into basically this psychological development. And I love it because I think a lot in astrology, it tends to be downplayed. And I like that he takes the approach with the gene keys of really focusing on the spiritual path. And a lot of his, I will be honest, his writing can sound very much, because it's focused on the spiritual journey, it can be hard to form into practical action, so to say. But I'm figuring it out, and with time, I'm sure you'll figure it out too. But I think in the end, I know what the reason he doesn't focus more on the practical do this, so to say, is because it's about contemplation. We're not human doings, we're human beings. And this is something that Richard Rudd really emphasizes. It's really beautiful. I love looking into the shadows, looking into the shadow side of each of my genius numbers even, or even just my first genius number is huge because I can see how much it plays out in my life. My first one is all about opinion in the negative side, where I'm opinionated, thinking that my way is the right way, which I really work on trying to not sound like on my channel, because I really don't think I'm right about any of this necessarily. I think everyone has the right solution. It's a matter of how you perceive it. And so trying to step into my gift more so, and of farsightedness is really valuable to me. And I love using this alongside astrology, and I like how I can find little bits of it correlated, because it helps me basically go, okay, my gene keys are my highest expression that I can work towards. I will probably never reach the city level, but if I aspire to them, I will know I'll be in alignment from a state of awareness. And my astrology can help me simplify when I need to work on things. For example, I listened to my attraction number today, which is all about addiction and the gift of invention, I believe. And I can see a lot of my Mars and Gemini tendencies to overstimulate, be anxious, overdo it, which I'm going to sit here and film 10 videos right now, probably, which I'm going to accept. But the gene keys are super cool, and I really feel like they can help anyone who feels like they're struggling on a psychological level of breaking their patterns, because astrology sometimes can feel like spiritual woo-woo, and the gene keys add a level of showing you your potential, where astrology can feel like it doesn't. So I highly recommend looking into the gene keys. I just wanted to share my info about it. Learn about your genius sequence, get his book, learn about each gift and shadow and city for your genius path. And if you want help breaking it down, then you can book a reading in the link in the description below, where we dive deep into your unique personality type combination, Enneagram, astrology, Myers-Briggs, gene keys, and more. So book in the link in the description below. Let me know in the comments below if you want me to do more videos talking about the gene keys though, because I kind of want to go through each gene key, which there's 64 of them, which will take a long time. I haven't even finished all of my astrology series, but let me know in the comments below if you want me to go into the gene keys, because I would love to do little videos breaking down basically the practical side of how I perceive implementing these into your life and breaking down each sequence. Not to basically though say again I'm an expert on this, but basically how I'm using the gene keys and how I would perceive you can actually apply this to your normal everyday lives, you know, that we have, where we have our 9-to-5s or side businesses we're working on, our relationships, our taxes, how we can implement these into our lives more so. So if you want me to do that, let me know in the comments below. And if you know about the gene keys, let me know in the comments below. Are you familiar with the gene keys? What do you know about them? What information do you have to share? What do you like about them? What do you maybe not so much like about it? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and stay tuned for more videos breaking down personology, psychology, astrology, and more. Once again, my name's Isabelle, and from my heart to yours, namaste.